My sister, before my wife came around, used to be leader of the state of Ohio, the high priestess there of the whole state. And her little pastime was calling up, supposedly filling the sky with UFOs and watching everybody's excitement. And some of the most outstanding sightings were in the early 70s in Ohio. And she used to laugh about it because she'd be standing in a circle out in the field somewhere calling up demons. And that's all they were angels of light playing games in the sky. Remember, a demon, get the little spooky picture. There are a fallen angel, an unclean spirit. They can assume any form or go into anything except a Christian who walks in the Spirit all the time. Know any? You know, or in other words, a Christian who keeps it under the blood and so on. But they can assume forms, including spacemen or solid objects like flying saucers or so on. That's why when they appear on the radar scope and a jet gets up there, they vanish right in front of the palace eye because they're nothing but a spirit.
I don't think a day to you this day of your time. How are you all?
Possession means absolutely total ownership. You've seen one of the few. I've seen 4 or 5 cases in my whole life of possession, and the young lady that we prayed for at the end of the service was one of those that was possessed. That's how many in 5 years, and I have sat in or been part of close to 1,000 deliverances. You don't see very many cases of possession. Possession means that person doesn't breathe, eat, talk, say anything that the devil does not allow them to do that's inside of them. Maybe you've seen them if you tried to get somebody to pray and they've actually wanted to pray the prayer of salvation, but they can't get it out. That's possession.
By 2015, thereafter, after 2015, sometime between your year of 2015, 2017, your entire Earth community will know for a fact that other life exists elsewhere other than your own planet. From that point forward, you will find that the most likely scenarios will be that there will be a few isolated contacts that will begin to step up and increase around your planet on a small individual basis or small group basis. But sometime between your years of 2025 and 2033 will finally occur what you call official open contact between your civilization and another civilization. We will not be the first ones to openly contact you physically. There will be another that will come before us. There will be another that will come after that. We will be the third civilization to openly contact you. And there will be more after us as those decades progress. Until such time as you will find that beginning around your year of 2037, you will be being, in a sense, assisted in the very beginning stages of becoming, at whatever pace you are comfortable with, the global community that will eventually allow Earth to join what we call the Association or Interstellar Alliance as a new member, which you will be by 2050.
Holography, a technique for obtaining three-dimensional images, involves an interference pattern between two sets of single-wavelength light waves. A single laser beam is split into 2 parts, one to illuminate the object. The second part, called the reference beam, is reflected by a mirror. The 2 beams meet, forming an interference pattern, which is developed to form a hologram.
There are 35 high-definition cameras ringing me, in a ring around me. I'm in the center, and they shoot my body at different angles, and I'm told that transmits what looks like an entire body image back there to New York. These cameras, I'm told, talk to the cameras in New York, so they move, and they know when to move when the cameras in New York move, and it looks a little different from a real person there, but it's pretty remarkable.
We are all children of God, but no, we are sinners. We are sinners. We must let the light and the warmth and the love of God, the eternal love of God, into our hearts, or we will burn in hell, burn in eternal damnation.
This is the original color line marker drawing of something called the Alien Reproduction Vehicle, or what's known as the flux liner, because it was based on the principles of high voltage electrical charges. Now, the aircraft, we really can't call them aircraft because they don't fly in the actual principles of aerodynamics, but there were 3 of these vehicles present at this display. They measured 24, that's the smaller one. The next one was 60 feet in diameter. The final one was 130 feet in diameter. So you can get a size of just how large these vehicles were. The smaller one had a few of these composite panels removed, which were fastened by Zeus fasteners, showing the internal components of the vehicle. Upper crew compartment had 6 CCD cameras and 1 on top for a total of 7. And they were, quote, directly off the Vegas casinos. And this entire vehicle used existing aerospace components which were already pre-existing in the aerospace industry. So this is an off-the-shelf type component vehicle.
Okay, but this is a drawing based on the memory, I'm guessing, of one of the observers.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct, yes. Yes, that is correct. Now, these CCD cameras produce an artificial image on the inside of the pilot's visor via the Apache helicopter display. And there was 4 ejection seat systems taken directly off the F-4 Phantom. So again, you can see this off-the-shelf technology using things that are already pre-existing. Now, down the central column, we know that there were approximately 24 oxygen tanks surrounding the lower circumference of the lower section of the vehicle, and we believe possibly that there was 11¼ pounds of enriched uranium-238 as some type of residual power source. This section right here is the 12-foot diameter Tesla coil, and there was a series of capacitor plates that were stacked positive and negative, with the positive plate always on top, because we know from B-field-Brown effect that when you apply an electrical charge to a capacitor, there is a movement in the direction of the positive charge. So that was interesting to keep in mind too. Now, Mark McCandlish cleaned up the original drawing, came up with this drawing, which was part of the May 9th, 2001 Disclosure Project representative meeting in Washington, D.C. at the National Press Club.
Okay.
That's where that came from. What's interesting to note here, though, is you'll see that there is an articulated arm here. Now, why would they have this? Okay, and they also have a submarine hatch door. The question is, why would you need an articulated arm? Perhaps are they going somewhere to take samples? Does this have anything to do with Ben Rich's comment before he passed away, where he said that we have things flying that are 50 years beyond what you could possibly even dream of? Well, if that's true, then yes, we're going someplace with this. Perhaps the other planets in our solar system, maybe even out of our solar system. Or this could just be for the release of classified NRO, National Reconnaissance Office, DoD satellites. We just don't know. We just don't know that part of the story. But we do know that there was an articulated arm associated with this vehicle. So the big question then is, how does this actually fly? You can see this color illustration here. Well, what they're doing is they're taking a high voltage electrical charge, they're feeding it into this 12-foot diameter Tesla coil. As soon as that happens, there's a magnetic field that forms above this craft in the form of a toroid donut. And by way of this rheostat device, the pilot had the capability of overlaying these field lines onto these capacitor plates, causing pitch, yaw, and roll. So if you wanted to go into a certain direction, you would apply more power on one side, and then it would start to move in the other direction. So that's how they had the capability of making these, huge, quickly high G turns, and some of these have been mistaken as extraterrestrial vehicles, when in point of fact, it's our own deep black programs paid for by our tax dollars. We also know that the gentleman who was the MC of this exhibit stated that these, quote, had superluminal type technology or performance, meaning they could go faster than the speed of light. They're tapping into the ambient zero-point energy field. So what they're doing is they're accessing and amplifying those billions of electrically charged particles, not only in our atmosphere, but also out into the universe. And at that point, you don't need anything on board the vehicle. You already have a pre-existing source of power. So again, yes, in that case, it would be very efficient.
Okay.
And so we need to get this technology. why won't this technology trickle down to the airline industry, to the power utilities? Why are we still using these coal-fired plants? I mean, this is an absolute tragedy that this technology is not being trickled down. It is time that these programs be declassified, put within the public domain so we can turn this whole thing around, and that's what we're endeavoring to do. This is the stealthy faceted aerospace prototype, Cedarville, California, 1982. True story. This vehicle was seen by about 12 eyewitnesses. It was approximately 600 feet per leg here, so it's very, very large vehicle. This vehicle was seen at about 15 degrees angle of attack down, 5 degrees to the left side, making a low frequency humming or pulsing noise that people could feel in their chest. So it was visual, we had audio, and there were two groups of people that really saw this vehicle. There was one group that were, very excited. They were just amazed at what they saw. The other group were horrified to their soul. They thought this might be something from the devil. And, if we only had an original sketch, we wouldn't have much to go on, but we do actually have the Polaroid photograph of the vehicle itself. It's kind of hard to see this, but you can see the people pull off to the side of the road, and the vehicle, that's the craft right there. So there were at least 12 people who saw this craft, and I mean, it just doesn't get much better than that. Fantastic sighting. After about 10 minutes, it tipped up into the vertical, shot away at a high rate of speed. So I believe that this was one of our very early designs that was made at the same time as the F-117A, because if you look at the way that this vehicle has been made, it's using the same faceted flat plate technology that the F-117A uses. So,
Which is that diamond, you call it Diamond Star?
The hopeless
or whatever?
diamond faceted flat plate cut looking vehicle, the identical type technology. So again, it's a guess, but it's a pretty good guess that Lockheed was the prime contractor for that particular aircraft. Probably the most well-documented UFO case, perhaps beside Roswell, is the famous Cash Landrum case, December 29th, 1980, Huffman, Texas. We had Betty Cash, Vicki Landrum, Colby Landrum. We're driving down the road after a cafe meal they had. This was at night, and this ice cream cone-looking vehicle came down from the sky, lighted up the whole area. They were shocked and horrified to see this thing park itself right in front of the road that they were traveling down. And every time it spewed out flames from the bottom, this vehicle would bob up, and then it would come back down again, and then flames would come out again. And then after perhaps absolutely no more than 7 minutes or so, probably much less than that, this vehicle flew away. Of course, Betty Cash went to the front of her vehicle to perhaps get a better look at that, and as she came back toward her car, she put her hand on the handle there, and it was hot. She burned herself. But what's interesting to note is, as this vehicle was departing, there were no less than 23 double-rotor CH-47 Chinook helicopters chasing the Cash Landrum vehicle. So we have multiple eyewitnesses, we have physical trace case, because the Army Corps of Engineers later came back and redug up this road, repaved it, they've completely moved the whole area, and we have the helicopter pilots who saw it as well. So this is such a solid case, it's incredible. It has never been explained by the US government. They tried to pass it off. So they are responsible. They are directly responsible for the physical injury, and in this case, 2 deaths. So we are going to hold the United States government liable for what they did to these people, and they will be an accounting for that, absolutely.
Okay, now when you say you're going to hold them liable, are you saying that craft was one of ours?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Oh, isn't that wild? Okay,
there was a whole breach. This was the ending section of the NEPA program. That's the Nuclear Energy for Propulsion of Aircraft. By 1960, the United States Air Force, the United States Navy, and the Atomic Energy Commission had procurement funding of up to $800 million by 1960 for an atomic or nuclear-powered aircraft program. Are we to believe that nothing came of that? I believe that this was one of the mid-range technology demonstrators that had a malfunction, and then it flew away, and the government tried to cover the whole thing up. Yes, I'm saying it was one of ours.
Okay,
Absolutely.
and how did those people die?
They died of cancer. They lost their hair.
Oh.
Yes, absolutely. So we are holding the United States government liable for the death of 2 people. We're not going to let them get away with it. We can't. So clearly, I mean, would an extraterrestrial vehicle, you know, like make an emergency landing on a dark road and then start bobbing up and down, spewing out flames, and then have these guys chase after it? No, no.
I
no.
see.
It's very clear. It's very clear.